is a movie, and it started now. Forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right now?
Hello and welcome to Dad's Dating After Divorce, the only podcast that understands why your Tinder profile says active lifestyle when you actually just mean I spent 4 hours at a rainy youth soccer tournament and my back is currently screaming for a heating pad. I'm your host, Jude Sandoval. I am the founder of The Divorced Advocate, and my co-host is Dallas Bluth, the founder of Black Box Dating. Dallas, how are you doing?
Doing wonderful, Jude.
I was just complaining to you about my back. That's why I tied it all in together. And
you were, yeah.
My sore back and
yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm doing great. My back doesn't hurt this morning. It's currently 80 something degrees in Denver on the first day of spring, which is just bananas. So I'm going to a rooftop bar for a date tonight.
Oh, good for you. Fantastic. Well, then let's talk about today dating, which we're always talking about dating, but what I wanted to get into is we've all seen the headlines of the greatest of all time, and you can get. Well, I already told you, so you can't guess now. But okay, the listeners can guess to what I'm talking about. We're talking about Tom Brady, and Tom Brady's been in the news. He's probably, arguably, the greatest quarterback of all. You know that, right? You follow enough.
Yeah.
Okay. I know you're a sports fan,
and that's possibly all I know about football.
Okay.
But Tom Brady is the man when it comes to quarterbacks.
He is definitely he's got the looks. He's probably one of the best that's ever played, right? But he says he's too busy for a personal life because of work and the kids, and so. If a guy with a private jet and a literal nutritional chef can't find 20 minutes for a cocktail, what hope is there for those of us trying to coordinate a first date around a 50-50 custody schedule and a broken dishwasher and paying the bills and, in camping with an air mattress that does, that goes, all the air goes out of it. So what I want to deconstruct today is that busy dad trap. Are we actually too busy, or are we just using our kids as a human shield to avoid a terrifying prospect? For some of us, terrifying prospects. For other of us, it's not as terrifying, of having to explain our hobbies, like quote unquote hobbies, right? To like my opener, right? The active lifestyle, our quote unquote hobbies, to a stranger for the first time since 2005.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on whether they've ever used a kid emergency as a convenient exit for a strategy leaving a date?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's great that you have kids as an out whenever you need it. I think it's awesome. I mean, use the heck out of it, especially if they're not aware of it. Women use their dogs all the time as an out. Oh, I got to get home because my dog. I got to check it out. It's good to have an out. It's good to have it. When it comes to too busy for, I'm like, well, too busy for what? What level of seriousness in a relationship? I think that question immediately comes to mind. Is how deep we're going to get. And then it comes down to a matter of, in addition to the fear, it comes down to just priorities. What's most important in your life. None of us have enough time to do everything we'd like to do. Everything we do in our life is a trade-off. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
And when you're a single divorced dad, the trade-offs become even tighter. And you just have to get ultra focused and decided on what's most important to you. And, dating, having a relationship, whatever level that is, it's just a question of how important is that to you? And hopefully that's what we'll be diving into.
Yeah, well, and I kind of feel like with all of the technology that we have and the ability to quickly communicate, right? Like texting isn't a relationship building tool, but having that and snap, like all of this other stuff really gives you the ability. It used to be a lot more arduous, right? You had to make the phone call, then you had to call the restaurant to find if you get reservations, and then you had to call back to confirm. Like now we just go online, we can make the reservation, like, or find and you go Google and it has like how busy the place is at that very second.
Yep.
So we have all of this technology that helps things to be easier, but we seem to be so busy. And then as dads, yes, we do have a lot going on, but really is that really true? Like Tom Brady, seriously, man, this guy could do, like, number one, he could snap his fingers and pretty much there would be a line out the door of dates for him.
Yeah.
But how it just seems ridiculous.
Well,
excuse.
Anybody saying I'm too busy is what they're really saying is I'm prioritizing other things.
Yeah,
that's what's really being communicated right there. We're all too busy for some stuff, absolutely.
Yeah,
because it's a trade-off. Because we can only spend so much time doing various things, and I mean it's and I think it's everybody's right to say I'm too busy to date. That's not what I'm interested in. That's totally fine. The question is are you being honest with yourself about the decisions and the choices you're making about your time and your energy and resources?
Yeah. Well, and so I think that is the key point there, right? Like you can't just say I'm busy because if you are efficient with your time, and whether that's and so we could go through the myriad, and maybe we do go through the myriad of different things of like, well, where do I meet somebody? Well, you have apps, and while I know you don't like apps, you could actually definitely meet somebody on an app, and you
100%.
can't. So there's not an excuse. Like again, the old days, like we used to have to go out and intentionally go talk to somebody and like go scout out. Like now you don't even have to do that.
I mean,
like
talk to any woman who's a single mom that has her kids 100% of the time. They have no problem, connecting with men online without ever leaving their house. The problem is getting them on a date where they are leaving their house. That's the challenging part, is 100% mom making that time. But even when they're busy all the time, with, like you're saying, with the technology, they can absolutely meet people. Yeah, but we've got ways around it.
Well, and so I want to talk a little bit about the mentality and so of this with guys, because I know that I get a lot of guys in the divorced advocate community that just they're using these excuses that there's no good women, or I don't have the time, or whatever it is. And I just feel like we are, as humans, designed for connection, particularly romantic connection with the opposite sex. And I want to encourage the guys, if you are coming up with these excuses, to really take some time and do some self-assessment. Doesn't mean we were talking right before the show about the guys that are jumping in like in the middle of divorce and they're flying women in from all parts of the world to get remarried again, right? Like
bless their hearts.
Bless their hearts, exactly. Don't start doing that. But if you've taken the time and you've had a little the seasons, right? Like I talk about the seasons with your kids and getting things settled and building a foundation right there. And maybe depending on what the situation was, you needed to do some healing around that, some reflection around that, and you're still finding yourself maybe even years, because there's guys that are years down the road and finding excuses. Take some time to assess that, because two reasons. One, you deserve to have a positive relationship and positive romantic relationship, positive interactions with women. And just because your marriage may have not worked out, that doesn't mean that that's going to be the same thing. And the second part of that, which is also really important, is how else are your kids going to see that is a beneficial thing for them in their life? If you as their dad are not out there dating, having these romantic, it doesn't mean that you need to be, having some day game with your kids, which although can be a good thing, and I think we're going to do an episode on that a little bit down here in the future, because I could use some tips on that, Dallas. But and actually, maybe we need to do some field work with you and my daughters in my field game, which could be even a fun little video we could do. But anyway, I digress. But to have them be able to see that their father is, engaging in that, and then even being able to share that, that's incredibly important. How else are they going to see that, dads, if you are not modeling it for them?
That's the key word, is modeling, because you're going to be modeling something for the kids. Are you modeling a man that is saying, you know what, this isn't easy, so I'm not going to do it? Are you modeling, I would like this, but I'm afraid to put myself back out there because I don't want to get hurt again?
Yeah.
I don't think we want to be modeling either of those for our kids, sons or daughters. Or are you modeling, you know what, dad got knocked down, dad gets back up, dad goes back out there, dad keeps living. Which one are you going to model for your kids? That's a big, I think an important consideration to keep in mind, is because the kids are always watching, they're always observing, and they're absorbing, and that energy that you have, and particularly if you're feeling torn inside, like you really do have a desire to have some chemistry with a woman, to have a connection. If that desire really is inside you, and particularly if you're making comments like, oh, well, I wish I could, or, it's just kind of hard or whatever. If you're making these comments in the household, you're sitting on the fence in a rather ugly, undignified way. And do you really want to model for your kids that they should sit on the fence about what they want in life?
Yeah.
That's just
no. No, you shouldn't. And so probably most of us didn't marry the first person we dated. Like the majority of us didn't. And so what kind of message are you sending to them that if your relationship, your one relationship didn't work out, your marriage didn't work out, that you're just not going to keep trying again? Because then they're going to have that feeling, like you said, or that thought process of, oh, well, it didn't work out, I quit, right? Like you try once and you quit. How many things do you do once and then you do well and just get really good at it?
Yeah. Again, if somebody doesn't have the interest in dating, I'm all behind that, but most single dads out there, I think, wish they were. So for me, I'm really speaking to the guys that are experiencing the conflict in their own heart. They're split inside of themselves. And what that is when you're split, you have a lack of integrity. Like integrity means oneness. Integrity means I'm on the same page. When I'm like, I wish I could, but every time we put a but into a statement, we're switching directions. We're backwashing our thoughts and our energy back on ourselves. And that doesn't lead to us feeling very alive as men. When we choose to have integrity and say, I want to find statements that don't have the word but in the middle. It's I want to date, and I'm going to wait until I reach this, and I'm going to wait until all my kids are 10 years old. Yeah. That's an and statement, and there's no contradiction about it, and I've made the choice and I'm going forward. That's that direction and the purpose that you want to have as a man. Whatever your criteria is, find a way to unify yourself in the direction so that you can tap into your core masculinity. If you're saying if you're complaining, I mean, geez, what kind of a model is that to set for your kids of saying, well, I wish this could happen, or I wish this, or, I want that, but that's showing a very wishy-washy sort of energy. And I don't think any of us as men go, yeah, that's really how I want to be, how I shine the best. That's the role the model I want to set for my kids. But most of us have a hard time being honest with ourselves and looking in the mirror when we're doing that.
Hey, dads, this is Jude taking a quick break from this week's episode to encourage you to do two things. One, if you were like me going through your divorce, you had no idea what you were doing. That's why I founded the Divorce Advocate, to help you strategically get through your divorce. And if you have some challenges post-divorce, to remedy those. I'm going to encourage you to go to thedivorceadvocate.com, take the weekend visitor risk assessment. It's going to give you an idea of where you're at and kind of what things are going on and how we might be able to help you out with anything. The second is, if you're ready to up your dating game, go to blackboxdating.com, get involved in Dallas's community. I've been dating now post-divorce for 13 years, and every week that I chat with Dallas and we record this episode, I learn something new. There's absolutely nobody better that's going to help you find that relationship and get back in the dating game than Dallas. Check out all that he's got to offer at blackboxdating.com. All right, back to the show.
Yeah. By and large, every divorce dad I talk to, if I press them enough, they will all admit that they want to get back in the game or have a relationship. Yeah. Almost 100% of it. I've never had single guy be like, no, like I have no interest and I never want to see a woman again, Like maybe when you're going through the divorce, a lot of us feel like that. It's like, please take me to a planet where there's no women. But you know, at some point post divorce, like if you got married, you had kids, like just the design. But I'll tell you the number one thing then, if we dive into it and peel away the layers, is fear. That there's some fear around that. And then that fear is what happens to what you described. Then it comes up, it manifests as a but or this or something else.
There's fear. And I think another part of it is a lot of guys want or expect it to be easier than it is. And that ultimately boils down to laziness. And one of the core principles that I live by personally is everything of value comes at a price.
Yes.
Everything of value, relationships, wealth, health, how your body looks, how everything in your life that has value, you had to pay some kind of price in order to get it. And that price increases the value when you receive it. So I would say that a lot of guys we're sort of told constantly through marketing that life is supposed to be easy and convenient for us. That's horrible conditioning. It's very unhealthy, messaging that we're all getting. But that's the society that we live in currently. That's the milieu of it all. Well, expecting it to be easy and saying, oh, well, it's like, for example, like, I don't know where to meet women. I think what they're really saying is, I don't know where to easily meet women that I find very attractive and that are attracted to me, and they just, low hanging fruit. Well, yeah, of course that doesn't exist, buddy. Like when did we ever say that existed? Yeah.
Well, and that's the message then that your kiddos get about relationships. So if you're not willing to put in the time and effort to date in order to identify somebody that you can then put effort into a relationship, they're gonna think the same thing, which I think is a huge message that we have out there right now with dating, with the apps and everything else, which is a misconception. And then, which is also a reason why the divorce rate is so high, is we think should not take that much effort and that much time and that much, that much mental, emotional, like everything. Like it takes mental, emotional, physical, spiritual energy to put into dating and a relationship for it to be successful, right? What comes easy doesn't last long, and what lasts long doesn't
come easy.
Yes, exactly.
Fool me once, shame on me. Yeah, Jude.
Yeah. Yep. So that's another message to our kids. If we're just staying out of the game, sitting on the sidelines, then that's what they're going to do.
Yeah. But it's hard to hold ourselves to that standard. It's
okay. Yeah. Well, we're going to do that today. We're going to hold you guys to the standard today. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about practical strategies for the quote unquote overbooked dad, or the too busy dad, or the insert whatever dad that doesn't want to get out there. So we're going to help you overcome your fears today. So the first one is that, like, I don't have time, right? That's the big one. I just don't have time. The Tom Brady one, like, I'm too busy. I got kids and everything else, but I can snap my fingers and have 100 and go on a 45-minute date. That's the micro date. That's what I'm calling the first one. It doesn't have to be a grand date. You don't have to You don't have Tom Brady's resources, so you can't pull up your private jet, fly somewhere, take her out to dinner, and fly her back. Okay, so you're not going to do that. You can just plan a coffee, or you can just plan a walk, like something that's quick and that's easy, that we talk about as like recreational dating, right? Just getting that interaction with the opposite sex. Doesn't have to be a big plan. It can just be something quick and easy and fun. And that can be all of your dating. Like that can just be your dating life.
I think if you reframe the question as how can I make this happen? A lot of times, particularly in business, we're like, I can or I can't. But that's from a fixed preconceived notion of what that's going to look like, achieving that task, making that goal happen. When if you were to reframe it as, okay, I have to make this happen, how can I make it happen? And then what that does is that causes us to rewrite the rules that we have in our mind of what something has to look like. I do this with myself constantly. I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is the way I would normally do this. How else could I possibly do this to cut the time, in half or down to a third?
Yeah.
I do the same thing in my dating life as well. This is the way I've always done it. And I'm asking myself, well, do I have to do it that way? How else could I do this? How could I make this far less painful for myself and for someone else? How can I not carry this maybe emotional burden or this anticipation when really it's not one that I want to carry? Right. Well, actually, if I just say this rather than that, then we're in a whole different world. When we ask the question of how can I make this happen? How can I, plug this in? And we start moving around the pieces, we start to see all kinds of new solutions that can lead to a completely different experience of our life.
Right. Well, that's like a business concept, pretty much. Right. It's what is it that we want to accomplish, and then working backwards from that, and then starting, well, what's step one? And step one towards that goal is this. Step two is that. But the thing that I do want to point out is not everybody thinks like that, right? Like
anybody
you
can
think like that,
but anyone
they
can think like that.
Yes.
I'm saying this is a mindset shift into how can I make this happen? I want this desired outcome. And I think this is the straight line. How can I see this differently? And that's uncomfortable for everybody. You're changing your neural pathways, but anyone is capable of doing that if they choose.
Yeah. Well, and let's dial that really down specifically with the dads. Is that could be, okay, I would like to have a healthy romantic relationship. And if you're going to work backwards from that, that's not like you're going to be going out and meeting a bunch of women out in the field or at the bar. Okay, maybe that first step is I need to get therapy, and I need to talk through some of the hurt and the difficulties and the pain that I've gone through that is creating that fear that's then making me make these excuses. And so maybe it's something as simple as that, or dialed so far down before you're even going out and dating, so that then you remove that fear. Or maybe that first step is I got to figure out how to remove that fear. Maybe it's therapy. Maybe it's getting a coach like Dallas that's going to help me talk about things, or maybe it's getting involved with a community of other dads and talking to them about their experience. But how do I get rid of that fear? That could be like step one.
Yep. And I think you and I both agree. I know we've talked about this off camera several times. The only way to really get rid of fear is to walk into the experience that you're afraid of. Exposure therapy. You don't have to jump all the way into the deep end of the deep pool, but stepping into the situation and experiencing the fear and realizing, oh, dang, I didn't die. That's ultimately the only thing that will dispel the fear and remove it from inside.
No, that is a therapeutic concept. That is a given. So that works, and you have to be able to do that. And again, this leads to modeling again for your kids something, because they're going to run into fearful situations all throughout their lives. We do it. We've had it. They're going to imagine helping them to see that at a younger age with something like this. And there's nothing more fearful than rejection, right? Especially for guys. That's one of the biggest things, is the fear of rejection. walking through that and then showing them how you did that and sharing with them how you did that, and then talking to your young kids or your dating. I've got 3 that are now we got like a full house of boyfriends now again. Like they spent the whole year. Now I guess they're like in the spring fever or whatever. There's all boyfriends now, right? So it gives you the opportunity of talking about things.
Where's your hunting rifle, Jude?
Oh, they're right over there, and I got the key right real close. But but it gives you the opportunity then to share with them and talk. And I try to talk with my daughters and about that stuff and what I go through and the feelings I have. But it's just a huge opportunity. And then they'll come to you, and it gives you the opportunity to then talk with them about it. And then if you're doing it, you have things that you can share with them about people that they know, especially if you end up introducing them or if they, integrating lives or whatever, that this was what this was like, and this is what we did. And maybe you have somebody that you blend families with, and then they're able to give feedback from their perspective on it. It can be a really incredibly powerful thing for you dads if you are able to walk through that first fear like Dallas talked about.
Absolutely. And another thing that you're modeling in that is you're demonstrating how messy people are.
Yeah.
The fact that it's not a straight line, and it's not even just accepted or rejected. It's not even that simple. It's so messy, and we have to sort through our feelings. We don't even know what our feelings are initially, and we have reactions. If we hide all of that from our children, we're setting an expectation for them of, oh no, people aren't complicated. Like, people aren't messy. Emotions are simple. Where instead, if we appropriately, share with them, show with them, I was really into this woman and it didn't work out, and dad's just bummed. Like, dad's sad. Like, his hopes were up and now they're down. And dad isn't destroyed either. This is part of life. You're modeling how to deal with emotions. You're modeling that it's okay to be emotional and that emotions are going to happen. If we were happy constantly and never experienced sadness, that'd be kind of boring, actually. Like, that would get pretty old, actually, pretty quick. The fact that you're showing, like, these are the ups and downs that everybody experiences in dating. And then, later when they get their heart broken, because unfortunately it's going to happen to everybody, when they get their heart broken, they can go like, oh yeah, I remember, like, dad had that. He was seeing that woman for 6 months, and then she dumped dad. And like, dad was sad for a while, but he didn't hide it. He didn't put a mask on it. He didn't pretend it didn't happen. He didn't brush it off like it didn't matter. He said, this really sucks right now. And this too shall pass, to quote the famous.
I think that's the most important message of this episode to today, is because we live in such a society where everything's just social media and everything's an orchestrated pose or a shot or this lifestyle or whatever. And being able to share that message with your kiddos that's complete crap. Like, everything is messy, and there's emotions, and there's having to communicate and to be happy, to be sad, to be mad, to disappoint, like all of that stuff. And it's like making the sausage, right? That it's not going to just be this beautiful, the fantastic. Let's take it back to Tom Brady. Great example, right? Like, this is the man, most Super Bowls, MVPs, like everything. And what's happening behind the scenes, right? Like, his wife is sleeping with the jiu-jitsu instructor and now has his baby and is like gets divorced, and like, this is messy. This is life. This is life. This is messy. If it can happen to him, like
none of us are safe.
It's all of us. That is just life. Right. And that's what our kids need to know. And so you're almost doing them a disservice by staying out of the game or letting your fears get the best of you and not jumping back into that. It's almost like, if you're teaching them to play a game, let's say baseball, and you struck out and then you just took your ball and you went home. Like, what message would that be to your kids about how to play sports or how to play baseball or whatever if you struck out one time and then you went home?
Yeah, like, the The message is tragic. Yeah. The message is, if you're not guaranteed to win, don't participate.
Right.
That's the message. That's a horrible message. You're never guaranteed to win. You have to participate in life to get any of the good stuff. And you're gonna have to work through the struggle. Again, everything of value comes at a price. In order to get the wins, you have to pay the price of striking out sometimes. You have to pay the price of going through the mess. You have to pay the price of the ups and downs. There's no two ways about it. And what you really want to show them is that no matter what, eventually on the other side, you will persevere and come out and everything will be okay. And then they can see, you know what, even though certain relationships might come and go, the love that I have for you as my father, as your father, sorry, pronouns are all mixed up. The love that I have, the relationships that we have in this family, they last. And it shows even by contrast, that, while some relationships don't last, some relationships do last when we really choose. And my relationship with you as my child is one of those ones that's going to last. That's an incredibly important, principle, value to be communicated to the kids.
Yeah, there's so many things that by being out there and by sharing it with your kiddos is going to benefit them. And guys, look, like those would be things, some of those things would be things that they'd be seeing if you're in your marriage still. And that's just the design of relationships and being in a marriage. And so you almost owe it to your kids. You have to, try to seek that out and do something around that, because if you don't, you're denying them a learning opportunity for how to conduct that in their adult life. Dallas, I think that is probably one of the number one things that gets lost in the normalization of divorce in our society these days, is that gets glossed over. It's more about, seek your happiness. And I think this unfortunately comes more from the female side than the men's side, but seek your happiness, do what's right for you, like all of that stuff. And
speak your truth.
Yeah, speak your truth. Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying. And it's not like there's sacrifice. There's so much more that needs to go into that messaging that is not getting said. So by walking through this fear, guys, and then facing it and then showing them, there's so much that you can do. So, I think we beat that to death, but I think it's a really, really important. Let's get back to some maybe practical strategies again. Well, the other is the dating app. Okay, go ahead. If you want to make a comment
let me give a positive spin on this, because usually when we're looking at it from a dating point of view, we're like, I want to have sex, I want connection with a woman, I want companionship, all these are pieces that you want, and you think about yourself, and then there's but. I don't know where to find them. I don't know if I'm worth it. I don't, there's all these questions that come into play. A whole spinning that around in a 180 is, what do I have to offer that right now nobody's getting to enjoy about me? Yeah. So for example, it seems silly, but I have handyman skills. I was a landlord for 10 years. Sort of my first big, chunk nest egg, was built through income properties. And I was a self-managed landlord, and I learned a lot in that decade of handyman skills. And, I think we mentioned on a couple of past episodes, stuff I'm doing in my condo, to fix things up for myself. Women love a guy that actually knows how to repair some stuff in the house.
Yeah.
And this might seem like a simple thing, but it's kind of sad when I'm the only one that gets to benefit from my handyman skills.
Yeah.
When I'm dating a woman and she's got a house and she's got a honey-do list that's out the door, and or the back gate keeps blowing open, then dog runs out. That was actually something that happened to me a couple of years ago. And I went out there and, reworked things and made it happen. That's amazing that skills and qualities of me that I've developed in my life as a man, that a woman is able to enjoy them.
Yeah.
That is and I don't feel like that's something that we even talk about that much. We see it more like being used, but it's when I've got this stuff to offer, and for me to see like the relief on a woman's face that she's not worried her dog is going to slip out again into the neighborhood, or that, I can come over, like a tankless water heater, like there was a limit set on it, arbitrarily, and you had to dig deep in the manual and the programming buttons and everything, but I was able to fix that or do other things, or, whatever it is, whatever skills we have as a man, when we only have them in our own household, they're maybe not being used to the fullest advantage that they could. Yeah. And there are ways that women want to enjoy what we have to offer. And when we go out into the field looking at it, let's say that I'm more of an introvert, I'm a little more shy, but I'm a really good listener. No, we were talking about this last night, actually. Yeah, we were talking about this last night on the, Ask a Dating Coach, the monthly sessions that we do online. Yep. Quick plug. You should look into coming to the next one if you would like to talk to us live about anything going on in the dating world. But we were talking about, how somebody that's a little more shy, a little more introverted, how that's actually can be a huge advantage. You're offering good listening skills to a woman, where the number one complaint that women have in dating is that men suck at listening. They go on talking and talking, and then when they're not talking, they're not really listening. They're not really engaging. These are all things that I honestly, if we just take a step back, look at ourselves and we ask ourselves, so what do I as a man have to offer women? And it's kind of tragic that nobody's getting to enjoy those parts about me.
Yeah. I was just going to say that a lot of the dads listening, having just finished up a divorce or gone through a divorce, their confidence is shot, right? And so dads, and you and I have talked about this in the past episodes, but like you've got some built-in credibility. You've already got somebody that selected you. So there's good. So start thinking back to all that cool stuff that you were doing, or what it is that you were demonstrating that exhibited that. And when I talk to dads about that, I'll be like, well, what hobbies were you doing then? And, was there anything that you stopped doing since then? And all guys are like, yeah, well, I was playing my music all the time, or I was really into sports, I was lifting a lot, or whatever. I'm like, do it again, start doing it again, because that was something that you just filled you up. And then when you were filled up, you were like, oh yeah. And then that just emanated out to the world. And then you attracted somebody in, you're going to do the same thing. But you just have to consciously think about it now. Like our confidence is shot. We're just doing it back then because we were young and dumb and, guys, right? Doing our guy thing. And now we get to be dads and we're like all in our head about it. Like go back to that stuff. Find that stuff. Exactly what you're talking about. Because that is sexy as hell to women. Yeah. Like even just the good listening thing. You might think that's stupid. It is sexy as hell to women.
It is. No, it's huge. And women get it from other women most of the time. Some women actually kind of don't get that, but it's very rare that they get it from men. And it is a whole different experience for a woman to be listened to in good, effective ways by a man. It's a completely different experience.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple more. I just want to hit a few more practical strategies for the guys that are using the overbooked dad thing, the dating apps. Okay. No, you don't like them, but they can be effective if you're going to use them. You're going to limit your time on them. Yeah. You're going to use them to maybe you just use them to learn the communication back and forth, to get messaging back and forth, and you want to get better at that, setting up times, etc.
A good way to do that, because the dating apps will quickly drain your energy. They will quickly grab your attention, even worse than the social media apps. Yeah. And one of the things you can do is to say, basically, like, these are my office hours for the dating app. I'm on here between 8 and 9 p.m. or 7 to 8 p.m. Heck, put that in your profile to make it really, really clear. Hey, just to let you all know, I'm a single dad. I have these responsibilities. I only check my messages, and I'm only on here between 7 and 8 p.m. And you're just communicating to the world what it can expect from you. And I'm not sure. I haven't heard any women say that is particularly attractive, but I know if I saw anybody say that, I would respect them, because they are exercising discipline and self-control in a rather slippery slide.
Yeah. Well, and that leads me to the next one, which is how to say, I'm busy, that I am a busy dad. that, I've got kids and they are a priority. A relationship is a priority in my life too, but my kids are a priority also. Like I get that all the time, like from women too. My kids are number one. Well, okay. Well, I know that I will never be a priority. Yeah. Well, I hope so. Like that's just a given. You don't have to say that. Kids are a priority. My kids are a priority too. Like, but we can still have a relationship that is a priority in our lives as well, and still have our kids as a priority. Like it's not mutually exclusive.
Right.
But how do you have just like, how do you have that conversation, or how do you say that? I like the tip about the 8. I'm only on here from 8 to 9 o'clock, but I'm just talking in general, not just on the app, but just let them know.
Yeah. So I think first of all, like a lot of us are shy about telling the world where we're at and what we want. And there's good reason, we want to be socially liked, and acceptable and all of that. There's good reasons for it. But I think a lot of times we could say a lot more than we are and say it plainly. And the truth is, when we are honest with people, when we're vulnerable, when we're straightforward, you go, what? This is what I'm really looking for. This is what I'm really after. When we do that, a lot of times us just saying it dissipates the fear.
Yeah.
So when you're looking to step out of your shell, your safety zone, of just your home as a dad, and you want to get back out there, if you look at it as I'm going to communicate with the world what I'm looking for, how I want to look, and because a lot of times, I see this with my clients all the time, it's like, well, shouldn't she know? Shouldn't she behave? Shouldn't this happen? Shouldn't she respond? And it's like, well, yeah, in an ideal world, she should.
Right.
But how could you be direct and cut through all of that fog of shouldness and actually just communicate what you want? Jump right to the point. How, kind of coming back to what we were saying earlier, how could you go about this differently than you have in the past to make it more efficient, easier? And particularly when you're cutting through that fog and that frustration and just going, I wish, I wish I could get an easy yes or no, on this invitation for tomorrow night. I'm fine either way. Just, I just would like it to be clear. When you say that rather than the waiting game or whatever it is, that was kind of a lame, oversimplistic example. But there's so many situations where we can, as men, lead in clarity, and we can lead in vulnerability, and we can lead in simplicity in the communication and the connection. And when we do that, first of all, the woman responds pretty well to it. But even more importantly, when we do that, we are giving ourselves what we want as men. And a lot of what happens when we do that is fears get dispelled.
Right. And I'll add that you end up finding more of what you want when you do that.
Yes.
Because whatever doesn't fit with it just falls away.
Yeah.
And there's an energetic thing about when you put it out that you're gonna attract what you're saying and what you're wanting. So the more you're doing that.
Yeah. I believe it was Dataclysm that was talking about how the people whose profiles were the most widely acceptable or most widely agreeable actually had the least intense or like effective connections. It was the people who were deeply unique in their profile, like, punk rocker hair, lots of whatever. They picked a side and they were clearly on that side. They're getting a ton of no's, but the yeses that they got were really strong yeses. And that's what we're looking for in the day. We don't want lukewarm, middle sort of. Like you don't want to be the gray man, just, blending in. You want to distinctly stand out. Is that what you were talking about, Jude?
Yeah. Absolutely, positively. When you put out what you want, you're gonna find it. Yeah, you're gonna attract it. You're gonna attract it in. The people are gonna see. They're gonna resonate with it. And so it's when you try to leave it so broad that you're gonna attract everything and anything that it doesn't work. Like and also my other point is just be open about it, like you were talking about, communicate it with you, because you're going to be surprised the number of people that will either one of two things. They're going to say, oh yeah, that resonates with me, or like you said before, which is, oh, thank you, like that helps me to know that you're not available outside of between 8 and 9 o'clock on the app, right? Because everybody's got a finite amount of time.
Yeah, and when you're a busy dad, that's being efficient. Let's cut to the chase and get right to it. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and single mom, like we're dating a lot of single moms, they're going to appreciate that also. So the more you put it out, like I had a client I was talking to today, and he said, "Yeah, I've had," because a lot of guys like they don't want to talk about divorce. I'm divorced, like it's like almost like a scarlet letter, and it's like, look, guys. You're in good company. I always tell them, you're in good company.
Okay, I have been rejected. I have been rejected by several very attractive women because I'm not divorced.
Yeah. Okay. There you go, guys.
Like seriously, like because they are divorced. They have kids. I get rejected because they assume either I don't understand or I have issues because I've never been married. It's one of those two things.
Yeah. So there you have it. The master has been rejected, guys, because he hasn't been divorced. You've got one up on Dallas. Like, you can't get any better than that, fellas. Like, you can't start with a better trump card in your boot. Well, I guess you don't put trump cards in your boot, but anyway, an ace in your boot, a trump card or an ace in your boot, than having that. So,
dude, can I mention it's Friday and that it's showing just a little bit? I know you've been on vacation, but boy, you are.
I think I'm loving these announcements. Yeah, I know they're not flowing so well today, but thanks for pointing that out to everybody.
Anytime, buddy. That. Anytime.
Yeah, you're looking out for me. I appreciate it. So, but yeah, so definitely own it. And so, the final thing I do want to talk about is overcoming that guilt, because it's just like.
So let's talk about the guilt. Which guilt are we talking about specifically?
Using the guilt of being divorced, and that it's a failure, and that you're using the kids as a shield not to get back into the game. All the stuff that we just we spent the last 45 minutes talking about. Yeah. That it's in our own heads. And it was in my head. It's in most of the guys' heads that I talk to, that have gone through divorce, that I work with, that are fearful of getting in there. It is in our own heads. And that's the only place it resides. It doesn't reside out there in our environments or in our culture or with the women that we're talking to. It is solely in our heads.
So can I give a reframe on this word guilt?
Yeah.
So guilt is, in my opinion, a very useful emotion. It's a very useful feeling. A lot of times, though, we will label other things as guilt. They're not actually guilt. My understanding of guilt is I have acted outside of my character. I've behaved in ways that are not in alignment with my character. Now, if I did that, like I cheated on my wife and that led to divorce, I should feel guilty about that because I acted outside of my character. I gave my word here and I behaved otherwise. You should feel guilty about that, and you should own it, because the only way to overcome that guilt is to realign yourself and go, I acted outside of my behavior. I will never do that again. You can almost say, if she's like, well, how do you feel about it? It's like, can I be honest with you? I cheated on my ex-wife. That is never going to happen again, ever in my life. That is the heaviest guilt I have ever carried, and I will never do it again. Like, I mean, if you're that transparent and you show it, and you have realigned yourself and paid the price emotionally, that bone is stronger now than it was before because it was broken and healed.
Right. Yeah.
So when it comes to guilt, if you're sitting with the guilt quietly, hoping it'll go away, it won't.
Yeah.
But if you have that guilt and go, you know what? How did I behave outside of the way that I wanted to in that marriage that led to a divorce? You get real with yourself about that, and you go, okay, well, there was this thing, there was that thing, there was that thing. I'm not going to do those going forward. I've now realigned myself, and I'm now guilt-free because that's how I behaved in the past. Going forward, there is a negative 20% chance that I will do that because I've already paid the price. I've already been through the guilt, and I've owned it. It's part of my story, and I'm going forward.
Yeah. Well, and let's be clear also, it doesn't have to be that you were acting egregiously, like cheating or something else. It could just be the fact that you were participating in a relational dynamic that was unhealthy. And if that's codependency and you're trying to give love to get love back, then just own the fact that that's what you were doing. Also, we get this back and forth like all the time that, well, you're only guilty if you do something egregious. Like, you were participating. Yeah. So whenever I have a conversation with somebody, like, and they cannot bring themselves to find any way in which they participated incorrectly in this relationship. That's like a huge red flag of you really have not done any self-assessment, have you?
Okay, so let me reframe that one too. Okay, if you're looking at conflict that you had with your ex-wife or any person, if you're looking at it and you're like, I didn't do anything wrong. Okay, right there, that's the red flag. The red flag is, was I behaving right or wrong? If you're asking yourself, it's like, who's right and who's wrong in this, you will never get to happy. You simply won't. What you have to do is look at that and go, what could I have done better?
Yeah.
How could I have behaved in a way that I would admire myself even more? How could I have modeled myself in a way that my kids would be like, damn, Dad, like you totally own, yourself in that situation. How, and we can, and there is no upper limit on that. We can always behave better. We can always do better. Saying I didn't do anything wrong, that's petty, guys. That is really, really petty. If you're looking at it going, I did kind of close off. I closed off more than I could, and she withdrew and then I withdrew. Or, we went to this communication style and we're both pointing the finger at each other. I can do a lot better than that, and that was where I could have done things better with the marriage. And because we're human, we can always do better. So right and wrong is not the framework. What can I do better as a man? That's always the question.
Yeah. And since we're talking about guilt, we should, and so we're talking about codependency, we should probably talk a little bit about shame too, because that's a little bit different than guilt.
Exactly. Yeah. And we will mistakenly assign shame as guilt. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's a little bit more insidious. And that is something I know I struggled a lot with. And so you can't have guilt. Guilt is actually a positive, maybe compass, if you will, in helping you to navigate your behavior and how you're showing up in the world. Shame is not, and shame is that you feel like you're inherently bad, and that what has happened in the situation and your life and where you're at is bad, and that is a big difference. And I think it's an important difference because there are dads that show up with a ton of shame, and that's where they just don't want to talk to people about being divorced. Like this client I was talking to today, he's like, I told all the work guys that were coming to the new place he's moving into, like I'm getting a divorce, and they were all divorced, and we had all these great conversations. I'm like, see, you're in a good company. So that shame, if you can get past that, then there are all of us that have dealt with this, and it's not something that is it's not something that is about you. It is a situation that you are in, and there's a big difference.
And it's very, very common and normal for us to experience shame and to feel like we're a bad person as part of the process. But the question is, do you sit with it and do you internalize it? And even more importantly, do you want to model that for your kids? That what you do with shame and that I'm a bad boy is I'm going to internalize this and just hold it in. No way. You don't want your kids to see that that's how you process it. You look at it and you go, okay, here are the things that I do want to correct. Here are the things I do want to change myself. And these other elements, I have no control over them. That's just being honest with yourself about the world and moving forward. If you're looking at yourself as being good or bad, that's sort of similar, like right or wrong in the conversation. It's a very, very limiting framework. You look at it as, what do I have responsibility for? How could I behave differently? And then you release the rest. It's not, some kind of a higher power needs to take that out of your heart and out of your hands.
Yeah. And that goes back to what we talked about. Okay. You want to have a healthy romantic relationship. That's your end goal. And you got to work back. That might be the first step that you got to take is work through that, do some reading around it, whatever.
And there's a, you can release, you release a certain degree of that shame and guilt and all of those feelings working through it with a therapist. You release a certain different part of it alone with yourself, and your higher power if you have one. And there's a certain part of it that will never get released until you're out there in the field talking with women.
Yeah.
You did until you're out there and you're starting to admit this thing to a woman. And then you see that woman still texts you the next day and said, I had a great time. In fact, you know what? I love how honest and vulnerable and frank you were with me.
Yeah.
That makes me respect you. In fact, it kind of turns me on a little bit.
Yeah.
Those are all parts. You can't sort through a certain portion of these feelings without actually being in the field. Like you can't fully process it as a man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a true test. It's the difference between getting educated to be a doctor or IT tech or something and actually going and doing it. Mm-hmm. Like you can have all the knowledge, but unless you go out and do it, then you're not. So
Windows ME is still going to kick your butt until you've actually dealt with it. Yeah.
From the tech guy, right?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Windows ME. I never worked on Windows systems, but I remember people talking about it.
All right. So let's put a call to action out for the dads. If that first step, okay, you first create what it is that you want. So I want to have a healthy romantic relationship. Find that first step this week, whatever that might be for you, and take action on it. So it might be, again, just scheduling a therapy appointment, or maybe you're already past that point. And like Dallas said, you need to get past the fear of actually going out and having some conversations, some real conversations, some authentic conversations with a woman. Take that next step. Maybe it's getting on the app. Okay. Maybe you're going to start with that. Maybe it's just talking to somebody like a mutual female, like a platonic female friend about that, whatever that might be. Take that step this week, guys. And then let us know. Let us know how it goes.
Can I add a little bit onto that? Just a little more of a concrete step you can do. So I would say that you would ask yourself in quiet, what do I want to model for my kids when it comes to relationships?
Yeah.
And pick 3 positive statements. This isn't what I don't want to model. That's not it. Don't focus on what you don't want. That'll slam you into a wall.
Right,
you want to ask yourself, what do I want to model for my kids? I want to model that I process shame and guilt and I release it.
Yeah.
That's an example. I process that I step out even when I'm in fear and I'm afraid, I still put myself out there. I demonstrate that, even, when I get knocked down, I feel the feels and I get back up and I go back out. Whatever your statements are, I would say pick the 3 that you want to model, that you want your kids to learn from you.
Yeah.
And write them down, put them on a wall. I would say that's where you start, and then start to hold yourself accountable to you being that dad.
Yeah. I like it. Beautiful. And let us know, guys. Let us know what transpires. Let us know if you enjoyed what you heard today. I mean, we just went through a lot, and your feedback is important to us. If you can leave us a comment, that helps us immensely. Show continues to grow. Hey, we're getting into spring season here. It's like dating time. I got to tell you, I love spring dresses, and when that all happens, and this time of year, I love it. You start seeing some more skin, and just so leave us some comments, give us a star rating. And if you didn't like what happened, email Dallas. If you liked what's happening, email me.
And if you're not comfortable with any of that, just give advice on what he can put in the background of his video. That works too.
Right on. And visit Black Box. Do you have anything coming up at Black Box Dating, Dales?
We have our weekly office hours, blackboxdating.com. Jump in anytime. I'm putting together some new workshop offerings. I'm looking at kind of breaking down the group into a little bit more focused on what particular stage of dating that you're at. If you're looking to get more first dates because you're not quite getting enough of those, or you're getting plenty of first dates, but the second and third dates aren't quite lining up, or you're getting plenty of that, but it's not moving to the bedroom. I'm finding that working with the guys, there are subsets.
Good idea.
That men are at in their dating life. And we're all at all of these subsets at some point or another. So there's no judgment about it. But there are specific techniques, there's specific awareness, there's specific training that needs to happen for you to move forward through that step and learn to succeed at it regularly. So those will be coming out soon at blackboxdating.com. Yeah,
good stuff. And we had just had our Ask a Dating Coach last night, but we'll have one coming up next month. Check it out at the events page at divorcedadvocate.com and get registered. You can put it on your calendar. Guys, you get a free hour with Dallas. I mean, that is
Well,
gold.
And one thing that we haven't mentioned is I do a mini strategy talk during these sessions. Yep. We pick a certain topic, we pick a certain question, and I do about a 10-15 minute presentation on that specifically for it, and that kind of kickstarts the discussion. Obviously, we can go off into anything else that you'd like, but there is also just a custom just for that group talk that we do every month.
Yeah, so check it out, get registered, and we hope to see you. And thanks again for listening this week, and hopefully you'll listen to us again next week.
Don't leave us. All right, Gene, talk to you next week.
See you.
Be the hero of your own movie. If your life was a movie and it started now, forget about whatever financial disasters you've had, personal failures, relationship failures. What would the hero of your life's movie do right